Yo, I am back from a luncheon, and it is time to do more of the things. I once again could not find the way to check my stream settings before going live, so I just went live. We'll just see what happens. I saw that one of our patrons is around, and I shall do another post. Oh yes, it would help if they had the link. And do an announcement, and then we shall do the video. Let's try pinging roles this time. And also update the old Patreon post with the new link. What's up, Lucky? Good to see you. Wait, Lucky Boy. Lucky Boy is... Who is Lucky Boy? It doesn't say who you are. I'm guessing Louis? Not sure. Or Fen? Not sure. Did this go live publicly? This was supposed to be a Patreon members stream. Oh, it's Louis. Yeah, cool. Nice, thanks. I just was like, what the? Good to see you, buddy. It's nice to see you. How are you, mate? You doing well? Right. Let's have a look. It's not saying unlisted. I should check this because I keep setting it up to be that, and then let's just have a look at my account and see if it like shows that I'm live now. It doesn't. Oh, that's a different account. That's Malyankovic, not Malyandron. But that also doesn't show that I'm live. Oh yes, nope, it's just live. We're just publicly live. Okay, cool. Do I just stick with that? We could just stick with that. I mean, I kind of wanted to make this the the private thing for patrons, but if we've got people hanging out now, I don't really want to pull that away from them. Okay, screw it. I guess we'll just make this a bit of a public vibe. Normally these streams would be Patreon specific, but it seems I screw up my stuff. But you know, get a bit of a hang going, why not? Yeah, welcome. This is a now no longer Patreon exclusive stream of me making my next YouTube video. And yeah, why not? Seeing as I've already ballsed it up, we'll just all hang out. I guess I'll change the name of it. Edit. I guess we'll call it a Malyan Patreon free preview, and go from there. Fun stuff. It's annoying that things, when you create them and then swap them from A to B, they don't just go like they should, but oh well. I was thinking about, you know, maybe doing some of these, you know, sharing with everyone, but I had a stream for the patrons earlier on this morning and got everything set up. It was a little bit annoying, but we worked it out that I've now got a timeline that has all of my typing all of my transcription in it, which has not been broken by the audio tracks that are inside. But yeah, a little bit of backstory for those who don't know. This is a new series that I've been developing and working on and trying things out for a long time. If you watched my Instagram a fair bit last year, you will have seen some kind of musical analysis posts, which was sort of, that was a development on this. And yeah, this is basically, I've been leaning towards doing musical analysis videos on YouTube, but you know, trying to work out workflows, automations or templates, filming styles, editing styles, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've been getting there. Yeah, so DaVinci has auto subtitles, but it hasn't liked having multiple audio tracks, some of them having musical info in them and then having subtitles. So I've had to remove, I've like, you know, you'll see in the last video, I had to try all sorts of different things, and in the end, what worked was just deleting these 4 audios, which are just like various outputs from my innuendo of like the musical portions, and then I ran a transcription on this as a timeline, and then I added them back in, and that seems to have worked. However, I keep closing that and then needing to open it again, so I have to go back to transcribe to get the transcription, then go back to the... But it's not necessarily for subtitling, although I will use it. I will use these for the subtitles. I am more doing this just so I can edit quicker. So there's 2 things I've done. I've run my this app called Marker for Creators while I recorded, and you can see it kind of on the desk here. It's like just a bunch of buttons, but I can also like type in and change stuff on those markers as I go. It's really helpful because it means that like I've got all of these, you know, those 4 buttons of new section, new line, great take and bad take. So then if I click great take, that's like the thing I just did, so I can go in, have a look at what I said beforehand.
Right, FellSilent.
And then I'll click great take on that. So we've got ourselves a little intro. So, and then because it's a timeline capture, transcription rather than the source, if I wanted to be like, delete this part, it just comes up here.
Some analysis of it for you.
So I could see that was red. So I could just go, you know, that, you know, from, you know.
Maybe it's just me, but either way, that tune is awesome. And
so yeah, I would have tried to do some vocalization intros again, like not not so much trying to copy the things I've done before, but you know, new versions of things. Now I've just gone and marked in and out, and I want to clear markings, clear in and out, and it's Alt-X. Cool, okay, I thought that did something else. So yeah, basically, I think the last time I did this, I kind of, I had a project notes up as well, and then I wrote down things like, yeah, that's what I was thinking of, and there's a really funny one of that, I think here. I'm not sure though.
So there's a better way to show these kind.
But this is going to be a longer video. I mean, the source capture is like a minute and an hour and a half, but it will obviously not be that long. But yeah, I wonder where yes sir, no sir is. But that's the cool thing, is I could type in here, yes sir. Yeah, here it is. I was talking about how how the music can be shown as like, we'll do this as a pattern, then we'll do that as a pattern, then we'll do this, and then we'll do that. And it's like a computer program, which is why it's called Decoding Riffs. And in this particular riff, the quick version that the video is trying to get across, not too slowly, but not rushing it like I'm about to, is that if you've got, which is the riff, that's like A B A A B A B A A A B A B A A B, and that will be written down, and I go through it in a way that allows me to, you know, show that stuff. And then I say this.
So for now, this is a slowed down version, and it's just those two letters trading in that pattern here. And I'll just show you what that looks like from a drummer's perspective. Now, how you think of it is kind of up to you. Everyone's got a different way. It could be yes sir, no sir, yes sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, yes sir, no sir. But that won't get you very far. So how we internalize it, it's just completely up to us. What we've got.
Right. So I think that's a really fun portion. So I'm gonna be making use of it. The tricky thing is, if I want to make use of it, it's going to be part of a video, but I don't know where I'm going to end up with the audio. I think everything's good. I'm going to replace things with other bits of audio at some points, but I don't want to destroy my original timing of everything. But I have used a multicam, so potentially I could start cutting things up, but I'm scared to do so. So what I usually do is have my whole source thing, and also because I've got all those markers, I'll start building the video later on. So I'm going to stick with that.
No, sir.
So, but thankfully with, next to clear.
But that won't get you.
That won't give, how we internalize it is up to us.
What we've got.
So that's very handy to find the end point. And then I can go from there. If you see the kind of workflow. So now I can cut that, but I can do it based on the text. I can kind of work out.
So for now, this is a.
And then I can do that. Now at this point, I'm going to want this back, because that means that when I click on one, I get everything, I think. Nope, they aren't all linked. Bugger. Is it? No, that's a Google Drive thing. Goddamn. Is it G or L? It's L. It's L. Okay, cool, gotcha. So now I need to relink those. And then I'll relink these, and then this should be good from then on. Click on one. Got it. Yep. We can have like the first clip to build a video from, but I haven't removed it from the original. I'll just mute it from the original so I know what bits I've taken. That helps me when it comes to like trying to fill out sentences, or L for link, actually. Linked selection. It's just some things call it link, some things call it group. You know, you kind of never know, you know, because if you knew, then that would be too easy, you know. All right, but you know, I'll be wanting to build a video of it, you know, kind of scrub through this, cut out all the bad takes, take all the good takes, see what I've got, and then I try to build a sequence. G for glink.
Right, FellSilent.
Now I know I did better than that later on, but and I'll go hook/intro. Now, before I kind of made my own new markers from the original, and then I kind of named things. I like, you know, sort of wrote down, okay, well, this has that feature, that has that feature, you know, so that then I could kind of go by, you know, styles. But I think I'm just going to name those things over here, and then by using the, you know, pull it and then using the disable, I'll then know what I'm taking, because I don't always record everything in sequence. That's a great
Deception. You know it.
This has a red at the end of it.
All right, Age of Deception by
You're gonna watch a lot of shit here, and it's cringe as fuck.
FellSilent. You know, the one that goes.
I didn't like it. I don't like it now.
I want to talk about FellSilent. Before Monuments and Tesseract, there was this awesome band that I fell in love with as a kid. Specifically, this song, Age of Deception.
And then I pretend to listen to it, because that's what we do. I realise
Such a banger. But there's...
Fucking come on. I think we might be private, actually, because no one else has come in to say hi. So I think I saw it because I'm me, and you saw it because of the link.
Such a banger.
Such a banger. Sounded great.
But there's this intro track to it called The Sleeper Must Awake. And it sounds kind of similar.
I'm just like playing it in my head and trying to get the timing right. And I realized we should probably play it.
Now, the cool thing about these riffs is that they're kind of the same. And when I realized that they were built in pretty much the same way, that kind of helped me to work out how to play it. And it just made my experience of the song that much cooler. Now, I'm really passionate about teaching and showing ways to understand.
Then that's where I started trying to just jump straight into the kind of, now that I've interested you in watching this is who I am thing that you have to do nowadays for reasons.
I want to talk about FellSilent, before Monuments and Tesseract.
So that's quite a good intro. There are other ones that are maybe snappier. I don't know. Go to the next green.
That song is a certified banger, but there's a prelude to this song that has the same riff but a bit different, and it's really cool how they're kind of the same. It's in The Sleeper Must Awake, and it sounds like this.
Yep, starting to refine as I go.
Song.
Copy, delete, or disable. We're going to need to move that quite far away, but I should also name this. Funny bits 1. Then I can go funny bits 1. Yes, sir, no, sir. With intro and listen and hands.
And I'm stoked to get into it.
We got this.
And there's a really cool thing that links them. And understanding that helped me to be able to play along with the song and ultimately feel like I cracked the code to it, which is just...
Right, that's a good thing. It talks about, because, you know, as I found in this video editing stuff, you know, I have to give a genuine, well, I feel like I have to give a genuine emotional reason to watch the rest of it, but I don't like clickbaiting. I just like using that knowledge for good. So, you know, it's important that I do some kind of a hook, and then I follow it up with something that, you know, continues with the intrigue, and then, you know, it kind of helps a person who is already into a thing know that they're going to get something out of it that they relate to, if you know what I mean. Sort of tries to follow the Mr. Beast playbook without just making shit up for the sake of it, or, you know, using that just to make people interested in stuff they otherwise wouldn't be interested in, I guess. Intro 4, and then what do I say here? It's a really cool thing that links them. And it's also a good opportunity to, you know, say this is Decoding Riffs. So
one of Decoding Riffs. I'm so stoked to launch this whole thing.
And then that's where I just realized I went too far.
I'm so stoked to launch this.
To launch. Bye. Right. We got a green there that I missed.
And I'm so excited to show you how this is made. And I'm also really stoked to say that this is hopefully the first episode of Decoding Riffs, which is something that I've been designing and planning for ages to show various awesome, cool riffs that we all enjoy the sound of and try to show what's going on so that we can...
Yeah, that hasn't got the energy I wanted. My name's a person, and I am this, which is something I might include, might not, but at least got to fit it in.
My name's Mike Malyan, and I've played drums for bands like Monuments, Tesseract, Periphery, and many others in the genty prog metal space. And
Gente.
My name's Mike.
Man. Okay, that had something that made me laugh at myself. I bet it's riveting. Post video self intro 1, I guess. Still don't know what to call these kinds of things. Post intro self, or is it post hook? That's a better way because it's part of the intro. Post hook. It's got a nice little thank you for the Patreons, humans, or maybe bots. So that's you, Louis. I was thinking about, when I was filming it, I was like, well, why not thank them at the beginning of the video instead of at the end when no one sees it? Because it's thanks to you guys jumping on and supporting me here that I feel able to just keep focusing on it, and it's fucking awesome.
Wonderful humans for me. So
that's here.
Got a brand new Patreon that's just started up, and it's a really exciting time for me. So thank you to all of these wonderful humans. Or bots, I don't know.
I'm gonna get rid of that. That was obviously
wonderful humans.
Just thinking of a quick little fucking, here they are, because there's not so many of of your legends at the moment, so I can give you more thanks as being early adopters and cool people. Right, what's this bit?
So jamming,
furthering on the emotional side of it, jamming with your buddies is an awesome thing. Being able to understand what's coming up in the song is a rite of passage that we love. So let's just dive in, try and show you how I see this and how you see it too. Stop.
you can see it too.
And grab the mouse and start going. I like that. That works for me. Call that end of intro. End of intro. Launchpad 1. I didn't write any notes about that.
My name's Mike Malyan.
That goes quite well into that. Quite like that as a take. It's quite good. That into that I think will work quite nicely.
Time for me, so thank you to all of these wonderful humans. So jamming things with your buddies is just an awesome thing. Being able to understand and know what's coming up in the song is a kind of rite of passage that I think we all love. So let's just dive in and I'll try and show you how I see this and how hopefully you can see it too.
Yeah, that's solid. Really liking those. Don't know how else to define these, so 5 stars would do. So yes and no, Louis. One thing I found is that if I try to make one piece of media do 2 things, it doesn't work well. It's like trying to make a radio edit and a song and an advert for a song all at the same time. It's just not really the one. So I did the Instagram videos and then I went, well, I'll make the YouTube video, and then I think what I'll do for Instagram is the parts that I recorded of me playing the stuff, and then maybe some talking and advertising bits on, that sort of roll off of the back of what you just saw had value in its own right, but to see more of it, go to the YouTube, as opposed to here's a short bit of the YouTube. Assuming you want to see more, click on, because it's not really inviting. It's just taking up people's time on feeds. It's just kind of useless. But if there are naturally good bits, then like that yes or no sir thing, I will use that as a clip for sure. But it doesn't say enough on its own, so I'll probably do another filming run for that. Once I know what this is, then I will know more, basically. Oh, hello, Mongolians. How's it going, Adam? Good to see you.
When we're trying to show riffs or learn riffs with friends, it's not enough to just say it's better, like.
Well, everything up until the like burp, I'm keeping. Fuck's sake. Although I need that for the bloopers. I've got a little bloopers thing. You joined at a great time, Adam. Yeah, that was great. Wait. Why are there 4 there? Oh, yep. Because that's 5, not 4. Mark 5. Nice to see you though. Thanks for the tips on the Jay-Z thing. I am a gassy human. I was drinking sparkling peach while I was doing, or sparkling, no, not sparkling peach, because I hadn't gone to France yet to get the peach syrup. I was just probably drinking lemonade or Fanta or something. That might not be a hook. It might be more like, I think one of the main things I want to, you know, seeing as this is sort of a first episode of a thing, you know, really just get this constant running theme of it's not enough to just say 221 221, you know, express one part of the program of the riff without actually showing the whole thing. It's just like, it's not a problem that it's inaccurate unless you're a nerd for the sake of being a nerd, but if you and friends want to jam things together, or you want to write things with other people, which is an exceptionally difficult thing to do, you need to be a bit more specific, and it's being specific that's the hardest part. So this is sort of trying to challenge that. But yeah, having a hiatus hernia does not help for being gassy. There it goes again. That's fucking great, Adam. I like that. I like that a lot. I do enjoy that. Yes, yes. Rather, I'm into it. If the live stream chat isn't replaying, he said Jen has to come from Milton Keynes, otherwise it's just sparkling metal. That's fucking great. Really, really good. 10 out of 10. Well done. But yeah, if I say like you can't just say but it, then you know that's missing the other half of it, which is, you know, the intro to that.
I don't know if you've had this experience, but those moments where you try to show a friend a riff and you're like, yeah, it just goes like better, and then you're like, what, like better, and they're like, no, like better.
I say Thompson Bonets.
And it's just like, you're talking a language, but you're not using any kind of specific kind of words or language to really describe what's happening. And then we try to do a better job by saying, yeah, it's just 2 2 2 2 2 2, and then you're like, to lose.
Ryanair joke. FR2222 to lose. Good little meme moment there. So that could be fun, and I much preferred that delivery of that as well. That the other bit's missing the other part. Thompson Bonets, godfather of the gent. So that's not part of the hook. It's not part of the end of intro launch pad. It's I'm going to call it post-intro retainment context. And then that's going to be 1 and 2, not 5 and... Oops. Really snappy name that. Post-intro retainment context. There's a better name for that for sure, but I don't give a flying fuck, motherfucker. I don't give a flying fuck, motherfucker. That's a YouTube link. What's up, Bloomer? How you doing, dude? Did you find this as a public video, or are you in my Patreon thing? I don't know if I made this, if I accidentally just went live, meaning for it to be unlisted and it went up public. I'm having a bit of trouble with these like set up YouTube things. But then I was like, well, if we're public, we're public. Public, cool. Well, that's cool. I'm fine with it. I changed the name to live free preview or something in case that had happened. Nice, you got a notification. Cool. Well, it's nice to see some friends as well. Usually this would be a patron-only stream thing, but then I fucked it, so here we are.
So this is how I see it, and hopefully by following along, you'll also see it this way too.
Basically, my next major thing is consistent series of analysis videos on and I'm editing it live for you. Ooh. End of intro, launchpad 2. Nice, quick ending, how I see it. Hope you see it too. And I'm just sort of using a method of editing that worked really well for me last time I did. Hey, what's up, Peanut? Good to see you. Thanks for identifying. That helps. Yeah. I was just saying this was... The first one I did this morning was actually unlisted. This one was meant to be unlisted too, but then I fucked it. And so now it's just a free preview of a Patreon behind the scenes. But it's also just nice to have some friends around. So, all good. And Louis is a patron, and he was like, I'm fine with it. So I'm like, okay, we're fine with it. But yeah, Adam, I don't know if you've used Marker for Creators before, but it meant I could hit buttons on my phone while I was recording. And if I didn't like what I did, I just hit red, and so then I don't bother looking at it. That's a long thing with a green at the end. That's good. And it's like live YouTube.
We go.
That's the button I pressed there, is like good take button. Ooh, what is this? I've just copied it. I don't know what it is.
To show these kinds of things, and I'm going to use a little bit of on-screen trickery magic to show some animations that I've made up to make it feel...
I usually try to do that too, but when I'm working on my own, before I was working with an editor, but this time I'm just doing it solo, and it just kind of didn't work out very well. I'm just gonna paste that here because I don't know what it is. I just know it's explaining. There are scripted elements to it, and then they're just sort of, I jump around a lot, you know. You remember what the filming was like with me in 2021, you know, doing the stuff before. It was just all over the place, and I've been working for years to try and improve on that, especially the last couple of years. But you know, I think I've found the way that works for me now, which is this. Explaining new transcription system reasoning, which is kind of doesn't really achieve anything for the video, but it might work if it comes out of nowhere and it doesn't work, but it should speak for itself. I realized I would like have over filming things, and then I would categorize them and then maybe not use them, maybe use them, you know. These things might also make good contextual shorts as well. You never know. But also it's It's essentially just I made a really cool mathematical based vibe coded template for dots and dashes. I kind of started to understand DaVinci's expressions, but I obviously need help making some of the more complex ones. But it's like there's a math block in a Fusion composition, and it allows me to enter what the BPM is and what the subdivision is, and then what the notes are, and how many, and what the what the actual visible subdivision is, and a few other things. And it will make animated pulsed dots and dashes and text glyphs basically. And I'm really excited about it, so I'm obviously going to talk about it, but it might not serve the video to have me talk about it. It might be its own other little short that but that was one of the things that's been holding me back making this the most, is having to animate every fucking X and dash. It's just like, nah. And God knows I've looked for enough software that does it the way that I want it to, so built my own with AI inside DaVinci. Yours works like but yeah. You'll enjoy this video when it's done, I think. Then I'll show you this funny bit. Imagine we've talked a little bit about in the video that we've talked about. You have a pattern of AB being like and then that's a word, and then you got another word that's like AAB, and then you've got a third word which is AAAB, and it goes first one, second one, first one, third one, first one, second one. But I refer to it just in its words, like trying to explain why I think this is useful.
So for now, this is a slowed down version, and it's just those two letters trading in that pattern here, and I'll just show you what that looks like from a drummer's perspective. Now, how you think of it is kind of up to you. Everyone's got a different way. It could be yes sir, no sir, yes sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, yes sir, no sir. But that won't get you very far. So how we internalize it is just completely up to us.
Yeah. Imagining a world where we can work on riffs together and they don't just become the lowest common denominator of what we know how to communicate with, or something that can't be jammed and must be done in solo and then brought back to the table. Trying to make the new world here. Because we could do it with every other fucking genre under the sun, and we just haven't updated notation and communication standards to reflect. Because this can work for fucking dubstep, this can work for drum and bass, this can work for even more jazz, crazy jazz elements. It's just specifications and stuff, and like theory, it's only useful if you know how to bend the rules, but everyone's like, well, yeah, you just learn how to bend them, and this is like the actual theory for how to bend things, the real goings on behind, because I think jazz musicians think this way, even if they don't articulate it. I think it is what's going on. So
now, I did think about making a tab thing happen, or maybe some proper manuscript, but now I did think...
then this is a better take of explaining.
You don't understand it,
It's basically what I just said. Copy, disable. I'm also like treating this as, even though this is from a multicam that I can go back and do, I'm still retaining a version that I just, if I've cut from it, I've disabled the clip so I know what I've cut and what I haven't. So this will be 2 of that. Gada and chun. Yeah, it's just we don't have other ways of doing it yet. To better, more excited, better explanation, I know what I've said, but I'll play it for you so you can hear it.
Now, I did think about making a tab thing happen or maybe some proper manuscript, but this is all useful, but I find this all really difficult to read, and it feels like looking at the output of a final program as opposed to understanding the code and variables that make it how it is. And I like that approach so much more because it allows me to make little tweaks and also play similar things and find patterns and be able to improvise more because every little thing I learn has a little shared nugget of info for another song, and it just is such a huge part of my playing and my whole musical identity. And I think this whole genre can be a lot more fun if we focus on these bits of information and how they're used as opposed to learn this whole passage and then you can only recite it front to back and you don't really understand it, you know?
And it's very purposeful now with me, having done this a lot more, that, I'm actually pointing at the right-hand side of the screen where there is space so that this does work for a portrait cut. And it works in YouTube, and this could be a half screen and then it's left half, right half, and there's the stuff, I can throw transcriptions. I've got, intentional graphic overlay shit. It's taken so long to like make things and then try to add that in afterwards and be like, well, I didn't set that up well at all. It's like gesticulation is so fucking important. I like that. It's a bit long to have before you've made any sounds though. So, and I want this to be a YouTube video that like isn't only watched by people who know, it's also watched by people who are learning. Like why, because I really follow my heart with like why I love Nile Red so much. I'm not a chemist, but I will watch him talk about chemistry for fucking hours. And then another red marker, so we're not using that. I keep it there in case I need it for filler sentence things.
And I'm so excited to show you how this is made. And I'm also really stoked to say that this is hopefully the first episode of Decoding Riffs, which is something that I've been designing and planning for ages to show various awesome, cool riffs that we all enjoy the sound of and try to show what's going on so that we can enjoy them more, get to know them, maybe jam them with friends, whatever it is.
It's cool, but I've said it again before, better, and I know this was me just trying to make sure I had multiple takes of it.
And I'm
something that is a separatable thing, because in the last edit I couldn't segue A to B, and so I'm like just remembering, oh, I'm gonna need that. Would be really helpful as I learned these things, I made like notes on how to post a self intro and launchpad. I don't know what this is. Don't know where in it's going to be, but then I don't have to. I'll just have to categorize it for now.
And I'm so excited to show you how this is made. And I'm also really
And now I think about it, it would be much better if this was in a different spot. It could be in the intro thing. It's just there's the intros and hooks are going to have to be separated out, but that's fine. And that just becomes 5, I think. intro 4, 5. Originally I did this thinking that I was going to send it to someone else to edit, but then I just realized once I'd done it, it was really helpful.
And there's a really cool... That song is a certified banger.
Where's the bit? Because that's... I've now... Here.
When we're trying to show riffs or learn riffs with friends,
Thompson, Bonace, etc.
when we're trying to... I don't know if you've had this experience. Hopefully the first episode for ages to show...
Okay, that I'd already done. We can get rid of it. Yeah, I somehow deleted the typing about bitty bitty and then didn't redo it, so that was dangerous. That's redone. And still not a note in sight. Don't worry, you'll hear it soon enough. Red, red, green. Let's go from after red.
Now, I think we all natively understand that there is something repeating going on here. Even if we can't explain exactly what it is, you can hear there's something familiar between and... So let's look at exactly what's going on, and we'll look at a very basic version of the prelude version of it, the Sleeper Must Awake riff. Now, I think...
Cool. Now we're getting somewhere.
Version of it, the Sleeper Must Awake riff.
The hard part is I don't know, I can't really just script that. I kind of have to explain it and then I know what the form is, and then we go from there. But that's another... Is it end of intro launch pad? I think it's, we can call it more like initial. It could work in the intro, but that doesn't mean I can't, you know, because I do think we can't have 2 minutes of talking before any musical things have happened. And I know I do more hooks later as well, so. But yeah, any concept intro repeated common elements 1. Because I feel like there's a thing that happens in Gent that also happens in football chants and nightclubs, and that's that once you've done it for a while and you can show that you're part of the culture by being the guy on the dance floor or the guy who starts the chant being like, I know how this goes, I'm looking for someone who doesn't know how this goes so I can enhance this for them like I've had it enhanced for me. Like the drops coming here and then they kind of own the dance floor, they feel fucking great, yada yada. That happens with gent too, it happens with jazz, it happens with everything, and it's like trying to find that common ground like Nile Red does with chemistry that makes me fucking, you know, even though he doesn't explain it so much and he's not necessarily teaching it, he's just having fun with it. you know, it really fucking works. And then, Adam, you'll love this, is that I recorded this in Reaper while I was working in Cubase. On a Mac, you can just have one playing and the other recording, and it's all attached to the same interface. As it turns out, it's amazing. And so I was doing like all speakers sound capture, which I'm just using as the sidechain ducker for the microphone at the moment, though I'll cut it better later. But then I've got my actual guitars, and then I've got the backing track, and then a metronome. So that way, you know, syncing things to performances I did in other video portions, like me, I did a full video take of me playing all of the preset musical portions on keyboard, drums, and on guitar. And once we've got the final versions, then I'll go through those videos, pick the final takes, get them ready to go, and then fly them in, and then that's all part of, like, you know, finishing the video once we've got a narrative flow that works and shit.
So I've made up a couple of little chunks of this, and we'll just go through them one by one. So first of all, you have this.
And I've said bad take, and I don't know why, because that worked.
So let's look at the most basic form of this from the prelude version of The Sleeper Must Awake. So we've got these kind of groups of threes, and I'm calling them threes because there are 3 notes total, not that we're playing something on all 3. This is where the whole 2-2-2 thing fails, because it doesn't say 2 on, 1 off. So we can write that as...
That worked. Why didn't that work?
chunks of this, and we'll just go through them one by one.
Because that's a good line, we just don't have to have the...
And we'll just go through them one by one.
That might be really useful later. Essentially, we're gonna be chunking. It's Launchpad stuff.
So I've made up a couple of little chunks of this.
It just says chunks of this. So okay, next green was there, next green is here.
So let's look at the most basic form of this from the prelude version.
Yeah, we listened to that.
You can write that as...
Okay. Moving on.
So we can write that as kind of XX dash as 3 notes. Bam, bam. But there's rhythm to that, you know. Bum, 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 bum. If we were to repeat it over and over again, dun, 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 dun. Assuming that we can repeat on that click and that works with the beat. So we can write that as dun, 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 dun. Assuming that we can repeat on that click and that works with the beat.
A little bit unclear for a guy who's talking about being clear, but oh well. I didn't do this for my health. And I talk green.
Now this works because in Sleeper Must Awake,
Listen through that rather than just look at the transcription.
Now this works because in Sleeper Must Awake, we're in this compound time, which is some weird fancy way of saying everything's divided by threes, or, you know, there are triplets and they form groups of threes sound like single notes that link to what we think of as 4 notes in a bar. 4/4 can be thought of in compound time as 12/8, for example, which is kind of where we're at here. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. But it's easier to just think of it as 4 beats in a bar, or 2 beats, because ultimately all we're working with is nodding of our head, and we can all understand that. So that makes it feel like there's 2 nods per bar, etc. 6 notes per nod, which is 2 of these groups of threes. But there's so many ways to talk about this. It's literally like impossible. So the standard I'm going to go for here is just calling it 4 notes in crotchet time, 4/4, but each crotchet is split into 3s, triplets. And you can think of it as a total of 12 notes, or a total of 4 notes that are split into triplets. Like 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. Put together 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. That's the meter. So it's not polymetric, it's just 1 meter. But it kind of has some metric weirdness in Age of Deception, which I'm stoked to show you. So
That needs tidying up, but it works. I think it's kind of like you could split that into 2 halves. Cool. Then I go new line, and I haven't been paying attention to my notes. Yeah, great till bots. Good thing, good till decoding riffs. Yeah. So in marker for creators, I'll write in shorter version on the phone, and then set it to this marker, so that then if I'm like, oh, that was a bit long, I could have, in tracking, I told myself this is a shorter version, and then there's like great take, bad take, because those are the buttons I'm hitting. I love this workflow so much. So this will be a shorter version of that. I already know that.
The basic information here is that we have these groups of 3 notes, on, off in binary. So hit, hit, gap. Now this is oversimplified because it's just for the drums, and it means that we have these little pieces. We have basically this one letter. I'm going to call it a letter. Maybe A will work for now, but A is basically hit, hit, miss, or on, off, bum, bum. And then we've got another letter, which is like B, which has nothing in it at all. It's gap, gap, gap. So miss, 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 or off, off, whatever.
Yes, of course.
And if you played A, then B, then A, then B, you get bum, 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 because it's on, off, on, off, for example. Now that's kind of what's going on here, except we've got this really cool pattern. That's why I like to call it decoding. We got A, B, A, A, B, A, B, A, 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 B, A, B, A, A, B. So bubba nothing, bubba bubba nothing, bubba nothing, bubba 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 nothing, bubba nothing, bubba bubba nothing, and then it loops. Now it's not quite that simple, but that's as simple as it is on the drums. So this is what it looks like played on a silly keyboard drum kit because my leg hurts and I can't play drums at the moment.
That's one way to segue into it, I guess.
The basic...
But that did it. For a moment there I was like, no, Mike, you fucked it. You're talking about the high notes as silences, but then I remembered that I worked it out as I did it. Maybe it's better that it doesn't refer to the time signatures yet. I'm also struggling to read this when they're all next to each other, so little gaps. Spacing. Right, that feature is provided. I just remembered I have a horizontal scroll wheel, so let's fucking use it. Bad take. But was good until after playback.
I'm also going to play...
Okay, so I'm glad I made that note because I would have missed that otherwise. Making a new section here for like performances. actually getting a video together. Okay, and at this point, that's 18 minutes into the video, and that's out of 23 to 38. That's 13 minutes. So that's just us having cut out 5 minutes of crap, but there's a lot of repeating there. Hey, that's cool. Louis, it's the same for me, and it's been like that until it hasn't, because I've been like, I actively have to change this, otherwise I can't make actively usable pieces of media, like actionable assets that can form part of a release schedule, marketing to support a release, or anything like that. But I'm really glad I've, you know, solved those problems to a degree, although I'm still learning. But the pathway I've been on, I actually had a really big win in that Gear for Music video. The retention values are fantastic on it. They're so good. It's got like a 49% hook rate, or something. No, 52% hook rate. So 52% of people who watched the first 3 seconds kept watching. And then of those people, I think it was like 49% of them watched all the way to the end or something, which was fucking nuts. It's like hook rate and sync rate or something. Hook rate or like bait, or I don't fucking know what the word is. But that sort of proved to me, if they wanted me to cut the video down because it was a reel on Instagram and they were like 2 minutes 30 is too long, and I've just been like trying to challenge that status quo of like, if it's good, people will watch it, and then the refinement of people who stick along to the end is data for you to, you know, use that data if you want to target ads to people who want to buy that stuff. Just to the ones who fucking watched it to the end, don't bother with everyone else, you know. Then it's filtration, then it makes sense, and then it's just, you know, that's the advertising world. But it's all about not selling shit to people who don't actually have any interest in something, because at least then, if they were emotionally invested enough to watch till the end, they're probably not doing it just because they like me. They might be, but they also will want to know something about that thing. So if they then see an advert for that fucking acoustic panel pop up on their feed, then it makes sense. It's not just fucking shilling, you know. It's actually helpful, hopefully. But I'm really stoked on that. That was a big win. I kind of needed to see some kind of result of, this isn't all just in my head, like this has actually worked for a company, and that was really fucking cool.
What we've got then are these cool bits of guitar intricacy between this other note. So it will help us to define some kind of notes, because at the moment these are just X's, just hits. So here we are. Let's look at it this way.
That can be cut off well. All right. I'm starting to remember what the flow was like now. Performances playback can go as like the last section, so that, you know, technically it's separated, and then these initial breakdown as a sequence, we can kind of call that over, because I can I can come back to it later. And I know I tried to do a faster version when I saw that the runtime was like 70 minutes. I was like, let's try and speed through it again, because it was like, this can't be that long, surely. So I at least tried. And before, I was like trying to make section markers, like, okay, section 5A, 5B, 5B take A, 5B take do and everything, and I'm just like, well, if they're in just fucking sequences left to right, I can flip around and save myself some time. So this is version 2 of that workflow in that way. And I was questioning for a second there, like, is this helping me? I'm like, yeah, makes sense. It's more like a story. It's more like organizing paragraphs into a sequence. Like sequencing a song, really, isn't it? Brr. Defining beat notes. 1 gap notes follows initial breakdown for other and performance or other shows. Intro of concept that we will need another glyph to demonstrate notes other than X. Oh, I got so many, dude. I got so many fucking videos ready to make. But this is going to be a whole series, like, and then each one, this is where voting in Patreon will come in, because you'll get to vote on songs that you want to look at. But we're also doing those roundtables. We'll do, like, I actually didn't end up doing it because I got really in a bad way leading up to my trip for my MRI. But my plan is to still do a roundtable on this FellSilent thing, potentially. And then, but it's sort of like an interactive recap, and also, you know, some other stuff. But then in the video, it all kind of happened, so we might do it as other things. But then the idea is that those in the roundtable workshop can suggest songs, which can then birth ideas. And so, like, we could listen to a bunch of things that are cool ideas, and then we can set up a vote and we choose one of them, and then that's the one we make. But I'll also be trying to make videos from comment suggestions, because I really like that. You know, it proves the worth of the community by virtue of just existing. So things like that I think will work really well. So yeah, that's part of it. This has a great take marker at the end of it, so I'm just going to pre-cut it, watch it, and then work out how to categorize it.
So that's rhythmically what's happening.
Sky is Red would be fucking sick, and I've actually got, I think I've got some video of Bod trying to analyze it on a, did I film that lesson, that bit where he was talking to someone? I think I sneakily put up a camera and hit record on something, and it's in my old Leprous filming proxy somewhere. But yeah, I remember how he taught it to someone, and then I was like, actually it's like that, and he's like, it's a fucking student, dude, like, you don't, let's start at the beginning, you know. I'm like, oh, jump to the end.
So that's rhythmically what's happening, and
great idea though.
Minus a couple of little weird on the third time start with that instead, or change this on this repeat, little wildcard kind of rule that goes on. That is essentially all that's happening rhythmically. And in Age of Deception, it's the same, but it is over a different meter. We have 4 notes per beat in that. So if we were to play these 3, 3, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, we get 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, etc. And that is cool because it's like a metric modulation. That's what they call it in the conservatoires. But we can just call it time bending or gent awesomeness, whatever you want. But that's the technical term because we've changed, aka modulated, the time, aka the meter, a metric modulation. That is metric modulation.
Fuck's sake, Michael. There's the fucking thumbnail right there. Jesus Christ.
That's a theory.
That's your theory. Kind of learning how to have a bit more fun with it in the session. Okay, so half of that was very specifically useful, and the beginning of it was a kind of fluffy way to get into it, but migrating from sleeper to A of D1. Thanks, man. It feels good. It feels like the video I intended to make is made. I'm feeling good about it. That's awesome. I really want it to feel watchable. As much as I love doing this for just one already engaged audience, I really like the idea of it being more than that, you know. There's a sort of a polymathematic, sociological side to all of this that I'm really stoked on, and I feel like if you know, you know, and so much of the cool shit today is just like those in the know are starting to, like, especially with some of the bands that, you know, the popularity of metal, it's kind of like become this sort of this interesting subculture with all this history, but like which people are kind of getting more and more casually interested in, and it's nice to try to be a voice of like not only helping develop and like assist and be a part of the old school world, helping the next generation, but also make it interesting just for those who are like, fuck, I had no idea there was something that was this fucking world, fuck, you know. Anyway. Migrating from sleeper to A of D, because I know I'll do more things that follow that. A little verbose, the intro. Wild cards, because that came out of nowhere and sort of seemed a little jargony. I think I made a mental note of that and came back to it later. Bad, bad, and then great, and that's got some playing in it, so let's cut it, check it, file it, and move on.
But theory is only useful for me to link what I natively know and understand and just give it names and systems so that I can compare it with other things and find patterns. So let's focus on how it sounds, shall we? This is the basic version of Age of Deception, just again focusing on these kick drums, just the drum part. Now you might be thinking, why are you counting these gaps in groups of threes? It just sounds like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 off, like 2 on, 4 off, 2 on, 2 on, 4 off, or whatever, because it really is important to
and then I trail off, but I don't call it a bad take because it's not, it just, there's a better way of continuing that. Yeah, I'll have realized I went a bit far. Really good segue from OTT to easily understandable. Listen to A of D with gesticulation, then gets ranty and falls off with posing the question, why 3s, why not 2 and 4, which will lead us to the stricter system analysis process, etc. Yeah. And then
The reason for it is because it's so important to understand the structure and the framework from the entire band's perspective. So just because the drums aren't doing the thing in the gaps doesn't mean nothing's going on in the gaps. And if the drums understand that, they can maybe even play off of it with little chicken or whatever. So basically, I'll show you again in Sleeper, the 12/8 compound time prelude version, that there's this pattern going on. Basically, in the gaps, we got this higher note. So for the visualization, we're going to swap that now to having zeros and ones instead of X's for hits. And it's going to get a bit more complicated later on with Age of Deception, but we're just going to keep it that way for now. So just a word of warning, it gets a bit funky afterwards.
Okay, that makes sense. I've just segued from something afterwards to something that goes before, though. But at least there's something that links it, right?
The reason...
But I'm sure that will be usable from the reason for X is.
Word of warning, it gets a bit funky afterwards.
Like, that's the sort of thing that, like, I'd natively just want to delete, but I'm watching it back. I get it. And to make some more room, so I just did like a double ripple. Just because these are all getting a bit bunched up.
The reason for it is...
I don't think there's going to be versions of these. I think these are all just useful clips. So this is kind of unusual in that I'm not really sectioning them out, but that's because the script wasn't so specific. But it's working-ish. At least by doing it, I'm remembering and like categorizing the whole thing. Right here, could have left out that warning, but it might help retentiveness. Yes, maybe it gives it retentiveness. Yeah, that whole like this thing later might happen. It's a little bit like meh, but I think it worked. It felt quite natural. Like, oh, it's gonna get more complex. Who would have known? Bad tick, bad tick, bad tick, bad tick, quick tick. I've done so much of that before I've worked out what I'm trying to say.
So you can see now. So you can probably see now by just having these as differentiating mini sections and looking at that kind of code of how it's put together is actually quite useful for getting to know and learn the riff on a technical level and thus remember it a little bit more. So you can
Oops. I can like apple X instead of apple seed.
So
I'm going to rename that to a mid-lecture segue 1 because it's getting to the point where there's just too much random shit. Mid-lecture segue 1. Like I'm thinking of the edit as I'm doing it like shit, I'm gonna need something to link that, but it's getting messy. There's a lot of red here.
that pretty much covers, and that's where this starts getting.
Okay, I didn't put red after this, and then I did this.
So that covers the basic.
So I think this is all good, even though I didn't do a green.
If you were to And so one way to look at it is that you've got the normal AB, then you've got your weird version 2A followed by a normal AB, AB, weird A, palm muted note in a few words, but it's actually those sixteenths.
I don't think any of this is. It's got a lot of potentially usable stuff, but I'm not feeling like I just jumped a whole section. So, and it's long. It's all red.
Two strings are actually 9 semitones apart. Similar. The only other variation to that riff is the fourth time around, from the beginning of the fourth repeat, and it's very much the same as the intro letter, but instead of just one note held out for 6, it's 2 notes.
Ugh. I'm not sure about any of that. That's a lot of cutting up in there needed. This isn't coming out like I expected it would. Find the next bit of green and go from there.
So in my rendition here of Age of Deception, I've tried to do it justice. The higher notes are actually swapping between the left and right guitars, and I've done my best to play them as if it were a live performance.
That's its own thing, and then it goes back to this fourth thing, which I don't think I have the first through third cleanly, so I'm gonna snipe that separately. Oh god, I'm so all over the place with this stuff. I'll find a way. Always do.
So in my rendition here of
yeah, that can be filed into segues.
So it's like 1 and 5, really. Really.
Whoops. I closed my transcription.
It's the fourth time.
Okay, I'm gonna skip past it, but I've made a note for now. Yeah, it's one of my favorite fucking riffs, and then it's got that live ending that I like. There's just like no listenable version anywhere really, because it's just something like I only ever saw that on like the MK Live outdoors gig that they did, and it just cuts from. It's like a live performance video, but using recorded audio. But then it swaps to camera audio for the end, and I'm like, it could have been camera audio for the whole damn thing.
But in the fifth time round, it's just on the left-hand side. On the record, that just goes until it fades out in that form. But live, I don't know how many times they played it, but for the sake of getting through it, on the fifth and final time, that's where I just do the gaps and the little ending bit that they do. So let me show you what that looks and sounds like. Kinda nutty, isn't it?
Kinda nutty. That's very messy, and I'm not sure if I can use it. I can't wait to get to the bit where I do my own variations of it, because that's where it gets really fun. I'm either getting worried or excited about the fact that I know that I do another like re-round of the details. I just hope I did a decent job of talking through the wildcards, because otherwise I'm going to have to refilm, and maybe I go to voiceover only and talk to screen for that, because I can't work out how that would work.
But my rendition.
And then I've made notes saying that I messed up, saying it was 6 repeats.
But my.
So I've done a punch in for something that's not punchable.
So that is how the riff goes, but I've got. And it ends with a little drumming fill, which is based entirely.
It's not 6 repeats. Like I said here, it's 8. Number 2. fixed version with final wildcard description and performance mod thing. Then I did a little segue into like, if I make these changes then it becomes that, but I've missed, I don't feel like I've got a usable thing, so I might have to go rewatch that 20 minutes and cut something out of it. I feel like I'm being, you know, just because I fucked up with the buttons doesn't mean I should leave it till later. I don't really want to go through the ending without knowing that I at least talk through some shit. Now this has been that. And then Boniments. Yeah, I found some on the fly comparisons to Admit Defeat, Origin of Escape. And then I try to explain why, and then I think I forget about the fact I fucked it up. So yeah, how I change the riff. Well, I might reorganize them. Usually I'll reorganize them because I'll realize, like, from a time before that I was missing one, and so I'll record a bunch of fillers. But I've fucked this up, I think. I think I need to take a wickle break, go to the little boy's room, and then I'm gonna go through this big section here that I skipped out. And if I can't find what I'm looking for in there, then I have all these references of talking about it's that simple, and then it is that simple, but it has these things that happen at these points. And then I think I've gotten so into it, I haven't marked out what's good and what's bad, and I have been really enjoying, not thanks to those markers, not having to watch myself make mistakes and start again. I'm gonna have to watch myself make mistakes and start again. I was hoping I could avoid doing that because it's kind of long, but that's what I gotta do to get it done. So I'm gonna pop to the loo and come back. What's up, Jules? Good to see you. I'll be back in just a minute. I'm just gonna take a whiz and grab another decaf coffee and then sit through a lot of mistakes. Enjoy this wonderfully bad break screen, which has absolutely no background music until it does. Oh, hi. We're back. I had a bit of a issue with the cat down there. She was being a little bit of a silly girl, so had to work that out. I'm back now. Oh, I don't want to go through this section at all. It was so easy up until now. I'm glad you like the music. It's just calm and relaxing lo-fi beat for study. Hey Dan, what's up? So, nope. That one, yeah. So now we get to watch me make loads of mistakes.
So in Sleeper, in the 12A triplet thing, we've got these higher notes in those gaps. So I'm going to change the animation here to be zeros and ones. They're not zeros and ones, they're actually more like ones and sevens if we're looking at notes of a scale in terms of a septatonic or 7-note scale, which it probably is in, but as far as this riff is concerned, there are 2 notes. There's no need for more than binary here. So we'll just go 0 and 1 and just understand 0 is the low note, 1 is the high note. What the note is kind of, you know, if you're in X tuning, it's...
Right. Okay, that's why I went red there. Crap, I lost that. Oh, it's still there. Good, good, good. Good to see you too, buddy. I hope you're well.
So in Sleeper, in the 12A triplet thing,
God, I keep forgetting what the shortcuts are for scrolling. Right, but thankfully we can put this as defining B notes, the second one. Okay, that works. That's actually filled in a huge gap. Ah, well, welcome back. I've been taking a huge Instagram consumption break as well. Yeah, I'm sort of, but I've been doing all sorts of stuff. This was meant to be originally a Patreon, like a Patreon exclusive behind the scenes thing, but then I accidentally left public on, and so we're just streaming publicly now. So consider this a nice little preview of the kind of Patreon behind the scenes stuff and early access stuff you'll get, but for now I guess it's just for everyone. But Louis is a patron and he said it's okay, so it's okay. It is nice to stream again though. I do really enjoy it, and I do want to find the balance of still doing streams. And yeah, this isn't specifically a Twitch thing, so Patreon's quite a new thing. I talked about doing it loads. I finally got it started, it's kind of tied to like, this is what makes me able to be a creator. Hopefully full-time, but for now, kind of just as a main focus, if you know what I mean. Anyway.
Now, back to Sleeper to show off these gap notes and why we've got these little gap groups of 3 instead of having the gaps be like 2 on, 4 off or whatever. There are these high notes.
That might be 2 clips.
There are these high notes, and I'm going to just show them here as 1 instead of 0. So it'll be zeros, then the 1s. In our word A, there'll be the zeros, and in our word B, there'll be 1s. Just because there are only 2 notes to this riff, and while the note is an octave above minus 1 semitone, or like the major 7th note above, or any of these other theoretical terms, but ultimately it's just b and ba, b, ba, b, you know, they're just 2 notes. We've got no other ones to muck around with, so we can go ahead and call it binary. Keep it simple amongst all of the weirdness. So here is what it sounds like if we make that B letter into a 1 note, not 1 note, but here we are with the terminology. If we make it into, the notes exist, but they're only played by one side of the 2 guitars that make up the stereo spectrum.
That's too much.
We are with the terminology, but 1 note, not 1 letter.
Let's cut it from, so here's what it sounds
so,
like. Which is why I didn't do any cutting, is because I was in the flow. But at least it's there. So that can work as an alternate to the 1 and 2, like
what we've got
are called bits of guitar intricacy. So they're just X's, just hits. So let's look at it this way. You know, it's those. We'll go 0. Understand that 0 is the low note, 1 is the high note. But then
now back to
then back to Sleeper, as if we just listened to A of D first time. That'll do for now, in terms of reminding me what there is, where there is, what there, where there was, where there is, where what.
one note. So you can see how this kind of makes some sense now. A, A, B, B, A, A, B, A, B, A.
I'm gonna say it wrong.
So you can kind of see how that makes some sense now. Ba 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 ba, whatever. So you can see now.
I was okay with that, but it's a little bit pointless. Yeah, thinking back to it wasn't as replayable as something else.
But in Age of Deception, there's another tweak, and that's that the lines with 2 or more A's in a row, the first one is different. The first A is like an A version 2, and it's like, and it sounds, but it gets really interesting with
I like the intro to that though.
but in Age of Deception, there's another tweak, and that's that
That will work, even though I'm working it out as I'm saying
that's
it.
that
And then this is migrating from sleeper to A of D. Oops. Gonna make some more space, so ripple paste a few times just to space things out a bit. This will just be 2. We're on 27-ish. So that was that, I reckon.
But it gets really interesting with Age of Deception. It's really interesting with Age of Deception because the low notes have a variation to them. There's a lot of different ways you can think about it, but most of the time this kind of complication seems to be made by bands where they want things to be a bit more complex, but they need there to be some kind of system to it, because if for no other reason, the guitars sound great when they're double tracked, and so you have to play the same thing twice. And if you don't know what's happening, you can't do the same thing twice. So it's kind of like, kind of has to happen. So here's one way to look at this as a program. If you are playing more than one A in a row, the first A is a variation. We'll call it A2. A2 has our normal palm muted notes that we've been having, but the second one is a big open note and it holds on for the rest of the letter. So of those 3 notes, it's palm muted low note, open non-muted low note, and then the third space it's just still holding out. So it's boom bap. And because we're kind of saying if there's going to be more than one in a row, then you can then kind of sort of remember that it doesn't happen if we're going just A, B, ba 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 ba. And that was
Big burp. But that was a good section. Low note variation. Alternative detail 1. A of D, alternative detail in low note 1. Great segue into it.
And that way you can kind of get to know that this only happens when we've got multiple A's in a row every other time. So there's this kind of question answer thing. We've got this normal phrase of just A, B. We've got this normal thing. We've got...
Try to demonstrate, don't set up the demonstration.
And that way you... And that way... And that...
Okay.
We've got this phrase with the gap notes happening on those B sections. So if there are more than two A's in a row, the b-b-b-b. The first one will have that variation to it, like this. B-b-b. So one way to look at it is that you've got the normal AB, then you've got your weird version 2A followed by a normal AB, AB, weird A, AB, AB, weird A, AB. So, you know, it's kind of a lot of info, but if you just remember that it's either going to be boom bat, and then every other time it'll be either boom boom bat or boom 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 bat, switching to 3 2 of those. I know it's a lot, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. So, you know, it's kind of B. And so one way to look at it is that
For that as a demonstration, but
hopefully that makes sense. Either way, the more you do it, the more you jam along with it, the easier it gets. And then you're kind of catching the notes as they happen. But without those notes in between, it's a little harder to realize what's happening and to kind of really understand it. So, but I'll show you what it sounds like. And that's where this starts getting really helpful, to be very specific about where these sections start and end, because otherwise these phrases are kind of just happening loosely in mid-beat with this intricate 16th note, aka 16 notes per bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and really specific start points, but the syncopation or the groove really comes from the fact that you've only got these quarter notes, and what's happening is going to be you know, and if they're starting on one of those in-between notes, those 16ths, that's where that kind of mechanical groove comes from, especially if it's really, really tight and everyone comes in at the same time, and it's just, yeah, it's just magic. I love it. So,
okay, that was... No wonder I didn't do that more than once. There's no cutting that down. So if I'm not happy with the presentation of that, I can go to a new voiceover and maybe do something that's a little bit more like, you know, it just jumps to like, if maybe one of the segues in the video says that's more complex, and then I can flip into, you know, closer VO sounding mic. Let me show you what I mean. And then it's all on-screen demonstration only, you know, just visualization of like, if this then that. Okay, but then there's if this then that. But then there's these wildcards, change 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we come back to the video. I think that is going to be how this works, because that was a lot of talking and I can do some visualizations on it, but it's not how I imagined it. But typically for me doing this whole process, how I imagine it and how I film it, not the same damn thing, which is fine. I can live with that, you know, understanding that. But I only understand it after I've done it. It makes sense afterwards, like, well, if you don't do the thing, how are you going to get the thing? But that's the learning process. Really feels like starting again with something, which is kind of awesome, because it's you know, like learning to play drums again, learning to record again, you know. Well, if I don't have this sequence of info, then like I won't get the output that I want. And you gotta be really specific about it. Yeah. But I'll think about that once I've got something that shows me either I've got like a really, what I'm imagining here and what I'm expecting is that it'll actually be going quite well with the visualizations, and then it will just be this lot of talking, and that will be just a, you know, only keeping the heavy study listeners rather than being a bit more accessible. And I'd like this to be complex yet accessible, so I'll just write down how number 3 is different. This might work as, you know, as what I'm imagining, but I think it's a bit too verbose, and I don't think I've got a few versions of it. But if it's going to be about specificity, it should be a bit more, should be laid out better. That's damn hard to do this. It's just a lot of fucking jargon I've thrown in there. Anyway, we'll keep going. We'll see what happens.
So that covers the basic form of what the riff is, but there are a couple of wildcards, like things that will happen differently on different repeats. And this is one of the most important things. So those are the most important little pieces of the riff, and for the most part that covers it. Repeat that and you've got yourself a riff. Do it in a certain sequence of variations, you've got yourself.
Okay, I see why. Yeah, that was going somewhere, but it inferred too much information rather than explained it.
So those are the most important little pieces of the riff, and for the most part that covers it.
If we have to go infographic, this would be a nice flip back, I guess.
So those are the most, so, you know, we've already got these kind of Cody like if this, then that, if that, then that. And if we were looking at it from a coding perspective, you'd bracket those and then you'd be like, however, in the bigger picture, do it the first time, do it the second time, but the third time, start it differently and then continue as normal. And that's where it starts to get a bit too complex for sheet music notation and stuff, because it's just too many if that then that's. And I'm still working on ways to visualize that best, but for now that's why I feel like this kind of format works the best. This is the first time I'm doing it this way, so I don't know which side of the screen it's on, but
that can be cut.
First time I'm doing this is the first time it works the best.
Me realizing I'm in over my head, be like, ah! But that worked. You know, that will do it. Where were we? I can't remember where we were. There we were. Nope.
This is the first time I'm doing it this way, so I don't know which side of the screen. These little changes are like this. The intro letter of Sleeper, or really what replaces the first two letters, the first A and B, is this. Just one note held out for 6. So you could call it two groups of... These little changes are like this. The one note held out for 6. So you could call it two groups of 3, but the second group of 3 is just keep holding whatever was playing before, but it might help to think of this one as a group of 6, or just one note held out. Now, I might not be perfectly correct with this because the song happens very quickly and there's some kind of hidden details, but I think that the very first note in Sleeper is just one of these notes. It might be 2, but I think it's just 1. The alternative is that it is 2 notes, which is what happens the last. It might be
complex because, you know, it doesn't matter if I've made a huge mistake. I don't need to. I'm just getting confusing.
Now, I might not be held out. Now, I might not be now. I might not be perfectly correct with this because the song happens very quickly and there's.
That's tricky though.
Help to think of this one as a group of 6, or just one note held out. Now
So that will be a part. Now I see why it's so messy, as I'm like tripping over myself. Meh. Womp womp.
are just one note held out. Now, I might not be perfect.
I'm going to keep that bit because it might have a nice like descriptive moment. It might be kind of helpful in some way or another, but I don't think it will be, but I'll at least get it in and mark out what it is. 3. Just rippling in a bit more space again because it's just getting hard to tell where one section starts and another one ends. Just making some space.
Was it?
Getting a bit cleaner now. Okay.
So that was what happens on the beginning of it in the first repeat of one of these whole sections. So on the first one, you replace the first line or the first two. So that was whole sections. So on the first one, you replace the first line or the first 2, 3 note sections or the first 6 notes with that variation. Now, halfway through, on the third repeat, we've got this little interesting variation where not only the actual first note changes, but also the pitch of the notes just before change. So we'll think of that as 2s instead of 0s or 1s. And it's this here. So similarly to holding a note out, it's over 6 notes, it's like that, but it's that note number 1, and it bends up towards note number 2, if you know what I mean, or note number 2 bends up to note number 3, whatever. I'm going to stick with 0s and 1s. Towards note number 2, if you know what I mean, or note number 2.
No one knows what you mean, Michael. You are out there with this one. Okay. That's how to make that work if it doesn't naturally.
So from the beginning of the bar, from the beginning of that third repeat, it's the first note bend. So this variation is interesting because it kind of encompasses
That's an alternate way of saying it, which I like.
Repeat and the third repeat itself. So almost changes 3 words worth of, or 3 phrases worth of 3 notes each, 9 notes, of which the real change is focused on the last 6. So it's just the last notes before the third repetition, the very end of the second repetition. The notes in the gap, in that B bit, go up another note in pitch. So we can call that 2. So that B section just looks like 2 instead of 1. But only in Sleeper. That's the only time that pitch changes. Doesn't happen in Age of Deception. And that fooled me. I've been remembering it wrong all the way up until doing this video because I've been focusing on the drums so much. And guitar is not really the thing that I do the most, so it's kind of difficult. But yeah, in doing this, I was humbled in realizing that that note doesn't change in Age of Deception, but it does in Sleeper, which is cool. You know, can only imagine why. Reasons. Cool. You know.
Right. Don't understand. Let's go sports. Who's playing who?
But this is what it sounds like. But this is what it sounds like. Reasons. But this is what it sounds.
That's actually kind of funny. They just get rid of that. Can only imagine more.
Reasons. But this is what it sounds like. So our one note that was in all the gaps is
Oops.
so our one.
Because this track we're not actually listening to and it's just affecting the gate means I can fix it.
So our one note. So our one note. So our one note. Reasons. But this is what it sounds like. So our one note that was in all the gaps is now on our A. It's in our 0 space, and it's got the full length of 6 that the intro or first repeat variation of the first line or first 6 notes had in terms of its length, but it's that higher note, not the highest note, not 2, but 1, aka not the octave, but the note underneath, and it bends.
What the fuck? I think I know what happened when I made those. Just a folder called subclips Y.
Up towards the octave. On the guitar, it's fret 2 bent upwards because it's a really weird tuning where the first two strings are a major sixth apart, or where the first two strings are actually 9 semitones apart, so an octave is on the third fret, but it's a really cool tuning. Now that's the third.
Okay.
A major sixth apart, or 7 where the first two strings are actually 9 semitones apart, where the first major sixth apart, or two strings are a major sixth apart, or now that's the where the first two strings are actually 9 semitones apart, are actually 9 are actually
Cutting out some flotsam.
are actually 9 strings are a major sixth apart, or are actually 9 semitones apart. Are actually 9
The front end of N.
are a major sixth apart, or 9 semitones apart. It was on the third fret, but it's a really cool tuning.
Okay. Oh, it's England and Congo. With you.
Reasons. But this is what it sounds like. So our one note that was in all the gaps is now on our A, it's in our 0 space, and it's got the full length of 6 that the intro or first repeat variation.
Good lord, this is a lot of words. It was so much easier when I'd made it easier for myself.
And now that's the third repeat. The fourth repeat has very much similar to the intro repeat, but it's 2 notes.
Big old bird.
The only other variation to that riff is the... Now that's the third repeat.
I like that.
Now that's the third repeat. The fourth repeat has very much similar... The fourth repeat has very much similar to the intro repeat, but...
Kind of realized I just did a bit of a no-no by deleting a portion and then it from the source. But it's a multicam, so it should be fine, but that could fuck me later. I'll know if things go out of sync by a specific amount of that amount I cut. If I were to try and replace the source stuff and for some reason wasn't using the multicam. I don't see any reason why I would do that though. But here we are. Imagining how things can go wrong.
Now that's the third repeat.
We'll do 7.1 as an alternative version of that. 7.1 segue for end of third repeat. 7.2. That just allows me to do a cut and retain the integrity of
the fourth repeat has very much similar to the intro. The only other variation to that the only other variation to that riff is the fourth time around from the beginning of the fourth repeat, and it's very much the same as the intro letter, but instead of just one note held out for six, it's two notes on the first and second points, the first two notes. They're both open, and the second one holds out all the way until the end of the sixth, so it's like 1 and 5, really. So that's the fourth one. So to recap, the first time around, the difference is the second time it's just normal A and B. Coming up to the end of the second time, going into the third time. Third time. Third time. And the fourth time.
because that ducker didn't allow me to actually use have a threshold level on it, which was kind of dumb. I'm just doing this so that I can sort of manually do that.
And the fourth time, you get this. It really is.
Just to prevent that kind of odd cut in.
It really is. It really is. It really is. Alternate. It really is. It really is. It really is.
That's pointless. No one gives a fuck about if you're gesticulating a down versus alternate stroke, Michael.
It really is. It really is.
Wildcards.
In Age of Deception, the start letter is basically the same. But I put a little slide on the bass there because it has a sub drop and that felt kind of good. But I put a little slide on the bass there because it has a sub drop and that felt kind of. But I put a little slide on the bass there because it has a sub drop and that felt kind of cool. In Age of Deception, the start letter is basically the same, but I put a little slide on the bass there because it has a sub drop and that felt kind of cool. So it's in A.
For editing the Lepra stuff, I didn't have anywhere near this much time. So that was really challenging because I tried to approach it with this level of detail and then they weren't getting enough every day and we had to change gears basically. Like they kind of had words, and then I started doing a lot more stories. It was about day 7 because I was trying to do this level of stuff and I was running into problems with HFS versus FAT, FAT, XFAT. Your first time doing it on a Mac, and I was like, well, XFAT will work for Windows and Mac, so it's a good thing to use. I basically started running out. I was overshooting, running out of storage space way too quickly, and turns out if you write expat stuff on a Mac, you can have no permissions at all, and nothing can be viewable on the Mac at all. So that was fucking terrible. Yeah, dude, it was such a huge learning experience, man. I was like, yeah, I was dropping the ball a bit, and I was trying to do the backlining stuff was supposed to be 25% of the role, but there was no way to reserve 75% of my energy and time doing that much backlining. Just extra bits that, you know, what I assumed to be putting a couple of extra Kempers out on stage turned into also having to manage guitar stand placement, potentially directing the stage hands as to how to do that, fixing things when they broke, also setting up the keyboard MIDI bass rig and stuff. Just no one had enough time. It wasn't a big enough crew for the amount of work that was happening. So it ended up being more of a 50-50. And then that 50% I had left over really started out as like 25% time because it was taking me so much extra effort to get into the role, even after I thought I was quite prepared. Then I wasn't able to get much done. I was staying up super late. I was just kind of burning out a bit straight away. And they were just kind of like, we need something rather than this. So then I got much more simple with it. But then towards the end of the tour, I fell into a rhythm with it, and we started doing those live streams randomly. Like at a certain point, I went a bit crazy with those, but they really loved what we did. So we did another one, and then, you know, it was really sick. But yeah, in general, I think the workflow is similar in that the job that got me the Leprous gig was a live reel of like a recap, and I would do the similar thing in terms of I would watch through a performance and I would cut the moments I liked, like this, and I would put them in sequences. That's the first time I ever used this because I was like, I've got to do it quickly and I don't know how else. I've got to try something different. So yeah, it was like board cool moments, vocalist cool moments, accent hits, vibe hits, crowd things, this, that, the other, and then I would then just watch the flow of the sequences and be like, oh, on that bit of that song that we're playing under it, it would be really cool if for that hit we could find something where that happens. And then I started to get into the retiming of those hits on the second time around. You know, like I had it filmed in 60/40 frames, so I could do speed ramps into those hits and stuff, and that was really fun. I was really getting into the speed ramping by the end of it. But yeah, so in that sense, this workflow did me really proud for a video, for like a performance video montage perspective, rather than a full cut. Unfortunately, I had an amazing opportunity to work on a really big artist's stream. I won't say who for now, but because it hasn't happened yet, but really artists I really respect and have enjoyed their music since I was a kid. Had the opportunity to potentially work on live shooting the development of a new album, and it's happening in like a week. And last week, you know, it was basically getting to the point with my injury where I was like, I don't think I can do this, but I can imagine doing it in a video village way where I sit and have a look over all the different cameras and help with the consistency between them, and then maybe I can manage the storage just so I could still be involved, you know. But for this instance, it just doesn't work for the team, so I'm not doing it, which is gutting actually, because live discovery and experimentation is turning out to be my favorite kind of filming environment yet. And it's what I've been working towards. All of these projects I've been doing is like fuck around and find out with enough capture. And, you know, now I'm realizing you need to be making notes of what happens and when, so it's not an overwhelming watch back and edit. But yeah, I can't be involved because I can't walk, and this particular one won't work with me being carried essentially. Really does feel like being, you know, this injury has got me feeling like differently abled. Yeah, but it clashed with Minor Drum Fest, so, and I would normally never skip the Minor Drum Fest, but for this one I was like, yo, I would do that. But then, so I just booked my tickets for that, so I'm gonna go there instead, see what going to a drum festival looks like while not being able to walk properly, so that'll be fun. Yeah. Anyway, back to things I can do. The only thing that's like really carrying me with all this stuff is that once I finish this video, I can start properly practicing on this rig, because this is, you know, that's the kit with the kick drum on the hands. I don't want to get good at it off camera. I want to capture the process. That's going to be a big Patreon behind the scenes thing. But that's why I want to just get this done, because I've been so stoked to do this, but I've got to get it done at some level, and then I feel like I can crack on with that. I'm kind of trying to force myself to finish one before I start the other. I tend to do that a lot. Yeah, I'm really stoked for that. I've actually got an idea of bleed, an arrangement of that. And the cool thing is when we split out the kicks on the hands and then the hands, if we do the kicks and snares, then we free up the cymbal part to be cymbals and ghosts, and maybe even extra accent cymbals. It starts becoming more like a percussion rig, and it will make for some really interesting performances. And then I'm imagining finding other drummers and getting them to, on their preferred kits, play a very specific part, like note for note basically, and we can do it like marching corps percussionist and like trading kick drums, like and shit like that. But we got a way to go yet. But yeah, that I'm really looking forward to. What was I saying?
In Age of Deception, the start letter is.
I didn't have faith earlier, before I took that break, I didn't have faith that this recording would actually be good. But the more I go through it, the more I'm like, no, this is fine. It probably would have worked on a stream as well, which is a nice thought. And I have clicked great take there.
So that is how the riff goes, but...
No, that's because we haven't finished from here.
So for Age of Deception, the intro is a little different in that it's the same length, but of course we have it over the 6. So for Age...
Okay.
It's the same length, but of course we have it over the 16th note, 4 notes per beat, but 3 notes per repeated section, the polymetric thing of a 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1. And that means that this first 6 notes actually only last for... It's only 6 of the 16, so it starts again on the second half of the second beat, 1 E and the 2 E, and then that's where you get back to the end of that first line of 6, the A B with the palm mute open and the rest of it, the whole thing. So that's at the beginning. The only other change is halfway through, the third repeat, and it's just like the third repeat on Sleeper. It's basically the same. It's in the different time, and also there's a sub drop on the record, so I've done a bass slide as well because that was fun. If we put it all together, we get the riffs. Like, if you remember all the details and you play it accurately, or you remember it accurately, you can recite it straight up. And if it's difficult, you just look at the sequence of it, maybe in its linear form, but with reminders of what the little pieces are, and it starts to become quite obvious. And eventually, you'll be doing it in your sleep, if you do it enough times. But I've done it so you don't have to. So here's me playing Sleeper in...
Here's one I made earlier.
So for each...
Oh, fuck. I pressed the wrong button.
Me playing Sleeper in full...
So I'm just chatting with a friend. With my good old buddy Mr. Greggles, we were going to do a thing, and I think we might not be doing a thing, so I'm just going to check in with that real quick. I'm going to be right back. I'm actually going to maybe cut this here and have a call with him, because the original plan was to jump on and do something pretty much now, but like some shit's gone a bit wrong. So I'm going to just say thanks for hanging out, and do sign up to the Patreon to see more like this. This was meant to be a private thing, but I fucked it up. Try to actually make it a thing. Thanks for hanging. It's been a pleasure. Patreon will get to see the first drafts of this and the development as it goes on before it comes out, and they'll see the first review of it. Thank you again to all my patrons. I really appreciate you, and I will see you on the next one. There'll probably be more streams like this, but if not, you'll see the things pop up in the creators forum. And thanks again for all the riffs you've been sharing as well, and I'm looking forward to diving into them and doing some analysis and really cool stuff. So thanks, and I'll see you soon. All the best, buddies. Bye!